I had life in prison, meaning my paperwork said LIFE.
What's going on, y'all? It's your man, not your boy, your man Lit. Today on Lit Up, spotlight is on Richard Walker. Richard Walker is a philanthropist, entrepreneur. He's doing great things in the community, working with children, and I'm talking about doing some really great things as far as giving the children a different perspective, a different way to enhance their futures. Before we talk about the things that he's doing today, I want you to get an understanding or get to know Rich from his past and the different things that have transpired that have ultimately mounted to who he is today and the things that he's doing.
1992, I was arrested. They seized race cars I had, my other vehicles. They seized $120,000 from me also.
So how was it that you were able to regain your freedom?
Well, it all started off when I was in Michigan Reformatory. I ended up writing a little short letter to the prosecutor's office and asking them for a copy of the receipts of the stuff that was seized from me.
Okay.
So I ended up with the receipts for the vehicles they gave back, and I also ended up with the receipt of the money that they gave back.
Okay.
So I looked at the date, and the date was 3 months prior to me going to trial.
Right.
So now I'm starting to put two and two together. He didn't want me to testify at trial. I wanted to testify. He kept saying, well, what are you gonna say? I said, well, I'm gonna let them know. Well, they seized my cars, they seized my money, they gave all the cars back, why would they not give the money back? He said, well, the prosecutor's gonna try to say stuff that's gonna screw you up. And I said, well, it can't screw me up, I'm telling the truth.
Right.
It's not gonna screw me up. Well, we need to keep you off the stand long as possible. And I've already talked to the judge, and I'm like, what do you mean you talked to the judge? He said, well, the judge was hired by Governor Blanchard, our former governor from years ago. And I know Blanchard, we're pretty good friends, so pretty much things are already set to go. You're good.
Prior to you reaching trial?
They had already given him the money back, and I wasn't notified.
So the money, none of the property or none of the money that was seized could be connected to drugs.
So he's basically telling me that
you're not going to prison.
I'm not going to prison.
And he's basing this upon his relationship with ex-Governor Blanchard and the judge.
So he's the attorney. I'm following his lead. I'm just going along with. I've never been to court before. I'm just following his lead. He's the lawyer.
Because you're not familiar with the system.
I'm not familiar at all.
All right.
So I ended up getting those receipts, and that's how I found out he ended up with the money. So time moves on. I decide I got to write a grievance because he didn't do what he was supposed to do. I got sent away for life. Something tells me I got to have a little bit more evidence than just to say he stole my money. So I called my sister one day from the prison.
You were communicating with him prior to this?
Yeah.
I mean, he was taking your calls and everything?
He was taking the calls because he kept telling me, well, don't worry about it. We're going to get you out on appeal, and just had my hopes up high, and told me, well, now we got to get you an appeals lawyer. I got one of the best guys ever. He's a friend of mine.
Right.
He turns me on to his buddy.
Right.
So I'm thinking, okay, if worse come to worse, whatever this appeal is, we're going to deal with it, and I'm going to be out of here.
Right.
Well, it didn't turn out that way.
You didn't lose any faith in him after you wound up getting convicted?
After I got convicted, he tried to act like he was helping me by giving me the appeals lawyer and giving my girlfriend little bits of money here and there to try to keep us calm down.
Oh,
so he was saying, well, I'm paying her the money back. I'm giving her here and there. So the only way I was able to really lock him in and get him to admit everything, I called my sister from the prison. I said, do you have a tape recorder? She said, no, I have a answering machine. I said, will it tape our telephone conversations right now? She said, yeah. I said, tape it and see what happens. So she ended up taping it, and I said, I want you to do me a favor. Call the operator right now. She called the operator on the three-way. I said, I want to make a collect call to Howard Wittenberg from Richard Walker. And they said, will you accept? And he said, yes.
He thought you was calling from the prison.
He thought I was calling from a prison. He didn't know that I was on a third-way party. Right. So I had my questions already wrote down that I was going to ask him. I had a bunch of questions. So in prison, you only get 15 minutes per phone call.
Okay.
So I'm asking the questions and I'm checking them off. And sometimes I'm doubling up on the questions just to be clear.
Sure. Right.
Yeah. So the phone call cuts off after 15 minutes. I call my sister back. We do it again. I get him 45 minutes of conversation. I've got him on the conversation and said, listen, I know I messed up. I was going through some stuff with my wife. I'm going to give you some money or extra money to keep it between us, and we'll work it out or whatever. So I got him to admit everything on the telephone conversation.
Wow. And that's how you wind up getting home.
I used that telephone conversation. I filed a grievance. I'm calling the grievance commission with my family. They're calling, well, when are they going to hear the case? And they say, well, sir, you know, we got thousands of cases. Everybody was writing. So I asked my stepmom, I said, well, why don't you send them a tape? I said, if you got a tape in the mail, somebody sent it to you, aren't you going to listen to it to see what's on it?
Right.
She said, yeah. So she mailed the tape. They contacted her and told her they were filing a formal complaint against him. So they asked him a bunch of questions. He told them I was lying. I'd say anything to get out of prison. That I took a lie detector test and I failed it. He told them all of this. Well, I got granted a new trial. That's what ended up happening with those 5 attorneys that I had. We went back in front of the judge. The judge said, who's representing Mr. Walker? All 5 of them stood up. All 5 stood up, and he said, all of you are representing Mr. Walker? They said, yes, we are, Your Honor.
You would think that, well, I would say that given the fact that you were exposed, because you gave him a black eye, were you ever targeted for retaliation in any way, shape, or form?
Well, I felt like I was. Well, they come in the house. I'm in the basement washing clothes. 2 of my buddies are upstairs. We can go to the hobby place. They come in and take me right upstairs and come up the steps and say, look what we got. I said, what do you got? He said, we got a kilo of cocaine.